Alrighty, Earthlings, welcome back to the Thundering Dice channel with your boys, the Thundering Dice Brothers. And today we are back with a little more esoteric Star Trek discussion. Last week, of course, we talked about the worst of Trek. Today, we're going to talk about the best of Trek. And so, just to give you the rundown in no particular order, maybe broadcast order, I guess, these were the top-rated episodes of Trek up through Enterprise, because that's all that really matters, right? The original series, Season 1, Episode 28, City on the Edge of Forever. The Next Generation, Season 5, Episode 22, The Inner Light. Voyager, Season 6, Episode 12, Blink of an Eye. Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 19, In the Pale Moonlight. And Enterprise, Season 3, Episode 8, Twilight. 5 points to anyone who can give me a summary out of all of those right now. I'll give you 30 seconds, go. Because we're not going to. We're just going to tell you that the highest rated of all those 5 Star Trek shows was, in fact, once again, TNG. So they got both the worst and the best. So,
which is rather fitting.
Why don't you tell everybody what actually happens in this episode, Ian? Because I have a feeling that a lot of Star Trek fans are going to know this pretty well. I figured it out pretty quickly when we were looking this up. I had like 3 guesses and I got it on my 3rd guess. But
I would not have guessed this.
There are other people who might not, so run down real fast. It's not a complicated episode, but you gotta know what we're talking about.
Real fast summary, well, there's the Enterprise comes across a space probe. The space probe decides to beam some trippy shit into Picard's head. Picard then spends the next 25 minutes hallucinating 40 plus years of an actual life on a planet where the probe originates, telling the last few generations of this planet before their sun ultimately goes supernova and everyone dies. And then he wakes up having lived an entirely separate life, being rather removed from Starfleet, and has to readjust at the end.
Yep, that is the long and short of it. So, like I said, it's not a really complicated episode.
No.
And I think this would probably surprise a few people because...
It surprised me.
Yeah. I mean, what were your, gut reaction? What did you think the best was going to be?
Measure of a Man was my instant thought of the best episode. The Borg one where Picard gets taken over. Iborg? Iborg.
No.
Iborg is the one where they first
where they get an individual Borg.
Yeah, where they get the individual Borg. That's all. That was also actually another one of my thoughts. Yeah, but the Inner Light was not on my radar at all. When I actually saw that, I grimaced and was like, no, I remember this episode. I don't like it. But after rewatching it, I 100% get why it is held in such high esteem, because it is a great episode, especially for all the main characters minus the aliens and Data in TNG are completely restricted by the reality policy that
the non-conflict clause.
Yeah, the non-conflict clause that you must sign to get into Starfleet. So actually being able to see Picard have this tremendous amount of growth with a family of all things. I mean, he hates kids. That's his signature move.
He says in
Crusher,
the episode,
get out.
He says in the episode, I had always thought my life were complete and I didn't need children.
Until I did.
But now that I have children, I could never imagine a life without them. It's like having a dog.
Yeah, sort of. But dogs are better. Mm-hmm. We can argue
they
about that in the
pee
comments.
on themselves for a little while, not for 2 year or whatever.
Exactly. But I love to get to see the overarching story of him actually grow, him develop into a lot more of a family man, and set against the backdrop of him slowly coming to the realization that the planet he is living on is dying, and culminating in the brilliant line, I feel sad every time I see my grandson because I know he won't get to live long because the planet is doomed. That is a huge type of growth from his captain days, looking down on planets, not necessarily not caring about how the outcome will affect the world.
He was prime directing his... Yeah, he was looking at every planet that he saw through the prime directive lens.
Yeah, it was through the lens of an experiment, way more objective, way more scientific, way more cold-hearted. Now he's thrust into a reality where he has to adjust. He spends the first 5 years. I don't know. I don't like this. I still remember my other life. I can't just divorce myself. All right, I'm gonna have a kid, and then everything just snowballs down, and he suddenly is actually living a life completely devoid of everything Starfleet has given him, and he's now thrust into like the family light, and it's just I love getting to see that change.
Yeah, that's what makes it such a good episode. It's because it didn't have anything to do necessarily with space battles and really high stakes. It's high stakes for this world, but the world went nova 1,000 years ago. This was just more showing us. I mean, I think in some respects it's a bit of a missed opportunity, because the better thing to do here, and they have the same thing with O'Brien's trauma when he's imprisoned for what seems like an eternity when it's only been a small amount of time, but he's actually in prison.
Yeah.
But these are things that seem to happen in one episode, and then the effects aren't really felt or noticed afterwards. Now, I understand TNG didn't really have a great long story arc. DS9 did. So you can't really even hide behind that. But it would have been interesting to see how this informs his character later. Does he become more thoughtful, more empathetic, less empathetic, more timid, less timid? Does he have now 40 more years of experience under his belt with which to confront new situations in unexpected new ways because he was in an alien world with an alien culture and an alien way of doing things? All these things might have in fact affected how he was as a captain and as a person, and that could have been really cool to see. I know it's episodic and sitcom in nature and not necessarily a hard-hitting psychological dive into the rigors of command and stresses of captaincy. But it would have been cool to have that carry on a little bit, because I can't imagine that it wouldn't completely fuck with your head. 40 plus years, you raise a whole family, you see a planet die essentially in front of you, like... How do you come back from that?
I don't think you do. Like, it's such a fundamental perspective shift in your whole worldview that, I mean, I think you might be able to, like, come back halfway, but all those lived experiences are, to one way or another, completely life-altering. So, like, I would say his empathy would increase radically, because he would understand... I mean, like, the whole family bond that he never got to experience in his whole life, insane. Like, I didn't think I needed it, but then once he got it, it's like the way parents say there is, like there's your life before the child, and then there's life after the child, and you're just not the same. And he gets that on multiple generations because he gets to see his grandchild grow up too for a little bit.
He has multiple kids and a grandkid.
Yeah, so like yeah.
And his wife dies as well. His best friend dies. His wife dies. His planet dies. He has 2 children. One of them has a children.
Yeah,
it's a whole full rich life that he leads. Yeah.
Yeah, very rich life. So it would definitely change, and it would have been really cool to see that drag. At least for a few episodes. It might not have to. You don't have to necessarily like fundamentally change like the way Picard would act, because he still is Picard in lots of ways. It still shines through as he's aging in this new world. But I would have at least like callbacks or flashbacks or just something that he's just kind of like looking for. That like looking for his grandchild, looking for his child, just sort of things like that, where you could just randomly drop it in just for a few episodes to give the illusion that it's something a lot more profound than they do. Since it is an episodic show, they don't do it, which is unfortunate. But I think that would have just peppered that in slightly, would have greatly increased the impact of that story and like the meaning of it.
What do you think would have had a larger impact on him? His assimilation, Wolf 359, and then de-assimilation from the Borg, or this 45-year life that this second life that he lived, right in the middle of his regular life?
Ooh,
Or is it the Q life, where Q goes back and allows Picard to reset a part of his past, in that he doesn't start the fight with the Nausicaans, doesn't get stabbed in the heart, doesn't take all the chances that he does take, and ultimately becomes a middling officer, still in the Enterprise, so not totally overlooked, but he's wearing the blue shirt, he's a scientist, I guess, and he's still a lieutenant, junior grade or something.
The Q part, I would say, is the least impactful, because
it just shows that he made the right choices.
Yeah, it just shows that he made the right choices and that he needed to be reckless once to understand that you need to be reckless and there are dire consequences.
He needed a Janeway moment.
It tempers him. Yes, it needs a Janeway moment. I would say the Borg is like is a really close second to this episode, because like the Borg, it's something that like he's forced into doing for a short amount of time relative in comparison to this episode where it's like a 40-year life. So, and whilst he has to, he's basically forced to betray Starfleet and, fire on them
Wolf 359 is probably the biggest like loss of military life in recent history.
Yeah, until the Borg, until the Dominion War. Yeah. Wolf 359. Yeah, that's absolutely thing. But so like that is that is traumatic.
Survivors Guild.
Yeah, Survivors Guild and all those like external factors, PTSD that you would have to go through.
But of course, because Picard is so perfect, as all characters are, he has the emotional maturity and health to get over it.
Which that doesn't make sense, because even in a futuristic society, I'm sorry, human mind still works the same way, and when you were forced to do something like that and forced to betray everything you believe in and forced to kill your friends and see people you fought alongside with die, that fucks you up no matter what timeline like if they wanted to retcon it, be like, oh look, here's some pharmaceuticals to reset your mind. All right, yeah, sure, like maybe, but they don't even try to go that far.
I honestly don't even think that that's going to be really a good thing in the future either. Every single medication has side effects.
Yeah.
You have to balance the benefits with the side effects. Now, if you can do talk therapy and do the work, quote unquote, that seems like a better option than some pharmaceuticals that are going to somehow like selectively remove your feelings of I don't know, your anxieties about what happens, so you can observe it clinically and you can deal with it in an emotionless Spock-like way or something. I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense.
We're getting a little far afield though,
but then going back to what you were originally saying, like the 40-year time period, the raising the family, the seeing a whole civilization collapse, knowing that it's slowly going to happen, hoping against hope that maybe the rocket launch will actually work out to do something good, and then finding out that rocket launch is you're connected to that rocket launch, and you yourself are the like prophet of a whole civilization that's been dead for 1,000 years, and you have to tell their story to everyone that you can find, basically, because that's the charge that they laid on you.
Yeah, you should basically start writing this book right now.
Yes.
While it's fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
Right? Just start out with just the straight up, the 45 years that you lived. And then you can start branching out and talking about the society, politics, what you observed, mini biographies of people that you interacted with, whatever. As much as you can possibly do. That should be, because in this post-scarcity world, you are free to do that. And I understand exploring is one hell of a drug.
But you were just given something.
You got both.
Yeah.
You got to explore. You got to be Borg and not Borg. And you got to establish that Data is sentient. You got to have some epic, sexy times down on Ryza.
You got to have fun.
You preserve the timeline and the galaxy countless times.
You got to have fun with God's Q, basically. Do a
exactly.
Like trivia thing, and then you get to have this whole life. And then also like one other thing. After living 40, 50 years in a whole other life, I don't think you could go back to being the captain of the Enterprise, especially like in like the same episode.
And it's not like it's a mundane job, but you'd be different.
You'd be different, and like your priorities would just change. And just from like a mental health standpoint, like like we don't let like pregnant women do fighter pilot shit for a reason. I mean, like this is a little bit of a different. This is a weird analogy, but in the same way, like after all that, you'd be put on IR, injured reserve, for at least a year or something like that, whilst you get your mental acuity back, and they retest you, like, all right, we need to make sure that you still know all the protocols because you've lived 40 years, and I'm not going to assume that all your synapses are, even though it has only been 25 years, all that information has suddenly been shoved into your brain.
And did it do any other damage?
Yeah.
Did it burn some shit out? I mean, this is some 1,000-year-old technology from a planet that hadn't yet developed any interplanetary travel, let alone solar system travel. All they talked about was sending small missiles into space.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even sound like they were in the exploring stage. So they got some janky ass, like mind-bending technology. Send you on a trip. You might want to check out their any side effects. Every medication has side effects. I imagine this does too. I know it's not quite as important to the overall story. Got a little nitpicky because
a little realistic here.
Because the actual what the episode is what it matters. It's this complete sidetrack from the regular version of exploration, and it is just what one civilization did to preserve their culture, their way of doing it. We sent out the Voyager probe, you know, probably in anticipation of us dying, because it's going to happen. We will die before that Voyager probe gets to another intelligence, I'm sure. Like, the human civilization will be extinct before that makes first contact.
Yes.
I could be wrong. Prove me wrong, aliens, motherfuckers. Come here and save us. Or kill us, whatever. Either way, same difference.
Nah, you aliens, chill up. Do not come down here. I don't want to see you. Do not kill us. Do not save us.
Come on,
Let
Centauri.
us have our
I
own
want some
problem.
Junkgate or Vorlon or Vulcans. Not Vorlons, fuck. Or Vulcans, come on. Warp drive it.
No, bad idea. Solve problems better here first, then go into space and
Oh, but
ruin
it's
and
so
have
much
fun.
more fun to ruin other planets and forget about the mess we left behind. You know, it's like burn it all down philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I sort of get that, but when you're talking about planet Earth, I don't want to burn it down because it's really nice and habitable, and, like, we've been cozy here for, you know, a couple millennia, and let's keep it going.
We're like weirdly adapted to the space that we live on.
Yeah.
Odd.
It is
No, but you
odd.
only grow when you stretch your boundaries. So let's grow, motherfucker. Mars, that's boundary stretching.
Yeah, just ask the new world how great the old world's growth was.
Elon paved the way. Go to Mars. Stay there. Enjoy.
No. Continue your fun. No, now we're just going into a tangent, everyone. If you've made it this far in the episode, I congratulate you. And do let us know what you think about our little esoteric talk about Star Trek. And then also, do you think Elon should colonize Mars or not? You know, maybe yay, nay.
And now, just to make sure it's perfectly clear, this is not what we think the best Star Trek episode of all time is. This was taken from IMDB's ratings. So, internet, this is your fault.
Yes.
If you disagree with it, you have no one to blame but yourselves. Look in the mirror. We are the mirror.
Yeah, and tell us what your guys' favorite episode is.
Because we are going to do that next.
Yes.
Soon.
Someday. You know, in a light year or so. My brother is grimacing so hard right now. We're gonna leave this in, everyone, too. Just for shits. I mean, like, no one's making it this far, and if you do, once again, congratulations.
And on that super happy note, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. Leave us a comment and tell us why we are right. I don't want to hear dissenting opinions because, as a perfect person, my opinions are perfect.
And check out our Patreon and give us many quatlus.